What's up, my ninjas? I'm Strident, and I'm back with another review. This time we're taking a look at Kamen Rider ZO, as he's called in Japan, or ZO, as we say in English. ZO is one of the 90s resurgent riders. In the 90s, there was kind of a shortage of Kamen Rider, so they tried to rebrand, reimagine what Kamen Rider would be like, and it was darker, more violent, with the exception of ZO and J. ZO and J had more of a kid-friendly, I want to say J more than ZO, more of a kid-friendly vibe. ZO's movie was kind of creepy. But anyway, the designs were really cool. The characters were decent. I mean, the movies were okay. They weren't really anything to like write home about. But I really dig this design. I dug these riders. I have him actually on a KTM 690 Duke. I figured, rather than dig up an old school Kawasaki something or other, you know what I mean, or some kind of super bike, let's put him on a naked bike that's, orange, that would, pop next to his green. But yeah, we're gonna go and look at this guy and see what this very simple SH Figuarts release has to offer. The good, the bad, the ugly, if there is any ugly. And yeah, you're gonna just, get a chance to learn a little bit more about this semi-obscure rider from, the 90s. So stay tuned, and here we go. So first off, you see him on this nice bike. It's a Maisto bike, by the way. I had someone ask me in the comments what bikes I'm using for these guys. I'm using Maisto 1/12 scale bikes. Some of them sometimes feel a little bit big in comparison to Figuarts, but for the most part, they fit perfectly. They'll be small for your DC collectibles and small for your DC UCs and stuff like that, but for these guys, they're pretty substantial, and they're a lot, what's the word? You get a lot of bike for the money. I think I paid maybe $10 for this thing, and in comparison to the bikes that you get from Figuarts, this thing's got a lot of die cast in it. It's got a lot of weight to it. I mean, there are cheapo ones out there, but the Maisto ones seem to be substantial actual pieces. But anyway, ZO, the sculpt is really simple, but the paint job is kind of immaculate because of the amount of line work. It's fine line work that they have to be on point with, lots of little details, like in the vents in his mask going up his face, like all the line work going throughout the armor. It's a nice design. It's kind of a leaf pattern. It reminds me of the design aesthetic of the elves in wood elves in Lord of the Rings, or just elves, I guess I should say. It's kind of a leaf pattern, but everything you saw in the movie is here. They didn't skimp, and they really never skimp. Sometimes it feels like I'm repeating myself over and over and over when I'm telling you guys how good the quality is of a Figuart, especially when it's something, as obscure as this, kind of it wasn't even direct to video, this one shot kind of movie thing that they made with these characters. A lot of people don't even know this thing exists. A lot of people have seen it before, and it's kind of like it wasn't that amazing, so you kind of just file it away into the archives. But I enjoyed it. It was at a time where I was kind of coming back to this kind of stuff because we had what did we have? Power Rangers was popping up in the US. There were all kinds of things going on. Ninja Turtles, blah blah blah. And I was kind of like, I want to go back to the old school stuff. But anyway, the design is awesome. The sculpt works perfectly with the articulation. Everything is painted to perfection. I have no slop. None of the lines are missed. Everything is crisp. Everything is well done. Everything is in its place. The paint, the colors are on point. They didn't give you kind of a kind of sort of version of what the guy looks like. It looks exactly like what you saw in the film. Especially, it's evident when you light him the same way that he was lit in the film, especially in the opening shot like this right here. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I love it because it's done right. I don't love it just because I saw this thing when I was a kid. You know what I mean? Um, the sculpt and detail and good paint doesn't just end with him. It continues on his accessory. It's his little grasshopper guide. And he's not even little. It's like a giant grasshopper guide. But as far as, toys go, it's a tiny, tiny piece. And he has an interchangeable piece to him, which is well detailed. But I mean, look at all that sculpted detail. I mean, there's texture, there's a wash, there's variation as far as color goes. They even painted the tiny little red eyes on this thing. It's insane. And when I go into accessories, we'll look at him a little bit closer, but I'll show you that he does have 2 sets of wings. That's fucking nuts. I mean, this thing looks exactly like the creepy ass puppet that was in the movie. It just, I don't know, it boggles my mind. I mean, I know today we have 3D printers and stuff like that, and you could probably set it to do such a thing, but I'm pretty sure a lot of this stuff is done, it's a combination. So props to SH Figuarts for that. I mean, ZO himself looks like he could have been a 3D printed something, maybe his body, but overall they captured everything, man. I love it. He even has the extra head in which the mandibles are out, the grasshopper mandibles, which only a few of the riders all across time so far have actually had this, and I love it. It looks so good. So good. I mean, it's so simple, and it doesn't really, it doesn't make or break the figure, but they gave it to us anyway, and this is a testament to how good Figuarts actually are. All the little details that you need to recreate scenes that from the film or recreate stuff, from TV shows and such, it's all here, and that's awesome. That's why I keep coming back. That's why you guys should be coming back for this stuff. You don't get this with a lot of other figure lines. They always leave out something that's pretty important to the mythos of the character or to the, the overall feel of the character, when they should be giving you exactly what you had or what you saw in the film or in the show or whatever, And I love that Figuarts does this, man. There's so many figures that I want them to make, and I'm pretty sure down the road they will make them. But, when I see it done right here, like on these kind of characters, it makes me happy. This was the other gift that I got from Agent O for Christmas. And he was 20 bucks on sale on, what was that, Hobby Search? I think it was Hobby Search, because we don't really do Hobby Link Japan that much. But he just looks good doing whatever. I mean, there's little things like the sculpt of his crotch and the way the legs kind of fit in there. And if you want to nitpick, then, there's something to nitpick about. But his hands, the way the shoulder pads sit on top of his, shoulders, the way that the neck fits into the helmet, everything else is spot on to the suit actor in the show, which I'm really happy about. He actually has more of a thicker build like the guy in the suit, unlike a lot of the Kamen Riders in the past in SH Figuarts form. Their bodies have been a little bit skinnier. I mean, what's his name? Akiba Red falls prey to this because they made him a little skinnier, I guess, in terms for articulation, for the sake of articulation. When the suit actor is freaking buff, you know what I mean? Like, he's pretty big. Here, you still get that thicker, almost pro wrestler type stature, you know what I mean? He's like a thick individual, and then you have the armor on top of it, which looks good. It makes him look more convincing. It makes him look more powerful. One thing I like is because he's wearing armor, it's segmented. So when you pose him, shadows fall in areas where the joints would be. So the shadows kind of, or at least if you light him from above or from the right angles, the joints get covered by shadow. So you don't have to worry about the figure looking too much like a figure and not enough like, the guy from the show. So props to them for that. I really like that. It's just really nice when certain things are so simple and they're not missed, in the overall presentation. It just blows you away. Accessories. This guy comes with just a few accessories. He's a very light release when it comes to the accessories, which is dope. I mean, they don't all need 5 billion pairs of hands, but they captured the essence of the character really well. He has hands that they were kind of instrumental to you recreating a lot of key scenes and poses from the film. As you can see, he's got fists, he's got some gesturing hands for his signature pose, and then he's got chopping hands as well as the splayed open hands that I actually have on the figure in this picture. Then he has the helmet with the extra helmet with the mandibles out, the grasshopper with the open wings and the closed wings. And then, of course, you have your figure, which is expertly done. Now, some people might say that's not enough. Some people might say that's, you know, it's light. It's light, but I mean, sometimes there's not that much to the characters. These riders were a little bit more primal. They were more physical. They didn't have all the gimmicks that today's riders have, and that's something that I see as a plus. I don't really enjoy having to buy the same figure 50 different times because, oh, this one's blue and white, or this one is black and white, and this one is yellow and green and blue and has this gun, and that's a gimmick for kids. I want a well done, well designed, well engineered figure one time that has all the pieces that I need to enjoy playing and posing and everything with him. And that's what you get here. I mean, when you get up close on all these parts, you see how each minute detail was actually captured. And you see that, you know, from the compound eyes, which I love because every single freaking rider I have, every single one has them. Fies even has them. All the versions of Fies that I have, even the Kiwami Tamashi has them. Probably the only two, actually I have one rider that doesn't have them, and that's Delta, the Sochak Henshin Delta. But anyway, my favorite hands are the chopping hands because he chopped shit. That was one of his little things. That he didn't have like a sword or a gun or something like that, or even a special bike. You know, I think the bike it kind of had his motif on the front, but he just fought, and I like that. I'm a fighter. I like to see my superheroes fight. It makes me happy. He's just a well-designed, what's the word? Well-presented figure. And all of these little, you know, pieces, these little accessories, they help, you know, I don't know, they just make the figure come alive that much. Yeah, I couldn't help it. When I saw the chopping hands, I was like, "Jah!" But it's just great. You're getting exactly what you need to capture the spirit of the character as you saw him on film. And that's the point, you know? It's just like the review I did of the T800 from NECA, the Ultimate T800. Everything Arnold did, everything that was important, that figure embodies it. And that's the way it should be. There's no point in making a figure if you're not going to embody the character within that figure. And they did that here. Even the little grasshopper wow, the grasshopper puppet. That's such a striking detail from the film. And somehow they caught that. I mean, I shouldn't say somehow, but they managed to catch it and make it look just as good as it did in the film. Kida Memiya likes puppets, and everything he's done, there's some stop motion something, some kind of puppet, you know, practical, a lot of practical effects. So seeing this in proportion to the figure after you watch the film, and it's one of the things that stood out in the film, it's kind of dope that everything is here. I mean, look at the veins in the wings, the texture, the little red eyes. Look at the little spines on the back of those grasshopper legs. I mean, it's just all the details here, and it's so tiny. It's like, damn, they actually gave a shit. You know, I can't stress this enough because we don't see this kind of attention to detail in the States that much, except for with NECA and McFarlane. And a lot of times McFarlane overdoes it. Funko is starting to get into it where they're putting a lot of detail into their figures. But it's one of those things that, you know, there's a few companies that go to this level when it comes to detail. And even still, they don't go to this level because this is a very durable piece. The wings are made out of a semi-hard plastic, and the figure itself is made out of, or the grasshopper itself is made out of a harder plastic. So it's not going to break in your hands when you change things. I wish everybody would follow this lead. They need to. It'd be nice.
Okay, we're going to do his articulation. Head, ball joint. It's a double ball joint because there's a peg at the top, but there's also a peg there in the neck. So you get the up, you get the down, and that's the combination of the head, the independent head joint, which you can turn either way, or you can just turn side to side. See? You make him look down on the side, either side. Get a little bit tilt action. He can look straight down, which is awesome. He can look straight up, which is freaking awesome. Arms. It's like a ball hinge. Ball going in here. You still get the shoulder rotation that you always get with SH Figuarts. You can kind of see the little peg right in there moving around, or the socket moving around. The shoulder pads are independent of the arm, so moving them straight up, they get out the way, you put them down so it looks flush. If you want to do this though, you can only go like that. It can't go straight up, simply because the shoulder pad will get in the way. But it's still pretty good, you know, movement. And he doesn't really do those kind of poses. He does more of these, you know, and then jumps. But anyway, arm goes out this much. There is a bicep swivel in there. Double jointed elbow with a lot of range, which is pretty awesome. Hinge and a swivel peg at the wrist. The torso, it's a three-piece torso. There's the up, mid, and then the lower. So you get this much bend forward all together, and then this much bend back. You always seem to get more bend going back when the figure's standing up straight. I guess it's for like when they get uppercutted or something, I don't know. Twist. A lot of twist in the lower, actually top and lower. So we can twist from side to side. You get a lot of motion because there's a ball joint in the bottom here. See that? Then we move down to the legs. They move forward this much. It's a standard SH Figuarts with the anatomical thigh swivel, but then anatomically correct thigh swivel. Then you can pull this down and you can get even more range on your kick, because this is the kick. Without it, you would have to pull the other leg to get more, but standing straight up, there's the kick out to the side when you do that, and now look how much you get, you know? So you can turn that into a real kick. See that? So beautiful stuff we've come to expect from SH Figuarts. The knees, double jointed knee with a lot of range. I love that. And it's cool too because you see this little peg right here in the knee. Let's see if I can move closer so you can see it. When you bend, you can see that it's a peg, right? But because of the shape of this right here and this right here, when you close it, closes up really nice. It's beautiful stuff. Swivel at the ankle point this much. That's a lot. You can pull the toes back that much. You got or pull the foot back, toes back that much because you got the toe hinge. And then you have a beautiful ankle pivot, so your kicks can look more like kicks. And then if he gets down in those crazy wide-legged stances that Kamen Riders and Super Sentai and Tokusatsu guys like to do, it's natural. See that? So all in all, I think this is a win on all levels. I love everything about this dude, and I think you guys will too.
The bottom line is, this is another release that delivers on your sculpt, on your paint, on your screen accuracy, your accessories, because they didn't go overboard. And then because you would only pick this guy up if you watched the movie and you have some kind of affinity for the character based on what you saw in that film and in his other appearance, I mean, that's the only reason why you would pick this up. I mean, it doesn't really, it's not the flashiest figure. I mean, unless you're just into Kamen Rider in general and you're going to pick up every rider that you see, this is kind of a very specific era that it's speaking to. You know what I mean? It's a very, or that it's representing. It's a very specific design aesthetic that it's from a time past. You know what I mean? It's not quite super retro and it's not quite modern, but it's somewhere in the middle. And if that appeals to you, then this thing delivers. You don't even have to, it's not even a lot of questions to ask about how well it was done. I mean, you can just look at it and you can say, that is ZO, 100%. I love everything about it. I think it's a win. I don't know how much more I can say. It's SH Figuarts, they do their thing. So this has been my review of the SH Figuarts Kamen Rider ZO or ZO. And I think you can find him for about 20 to 35 bucks. If you see him, pick him up. The Duke, his bike, you can find for, or the bike I gave him, you can find for about 8 to 10 bucks online at various different retailers. And if you see him, I think you should pick that up too. So that's it for me. You guys have been great. Peace outside.